am talking about and giving my review of the Maddie Diaries by Maddie Ziegler. This is basically her memoir that was published in 2017 when she was 14. I've read some of the books by the other girls that were on Dance Moms. Like, I've read Chloe Lukasiak's book. That was a few years ago. I don't remember much of it, so there isn't a video about that on here, but I did more recently read Nia Sue's new memoir that came out less than a year ago, and I did a review on that. And this one is there as well. It was on Libby. The audiobook was like 4.5 hours long, so I figured I could just go ahead and read this quickly. The audiobook is narrated by Maddie, but there is another narrator woman who reads the other parts. Basically anything that was written by someone who wasn't Maddie, which I'll get into. Now, my experience with Maddie Ziegler is, I mean, I follow her on social media. I'm not like a huge fan or anything. I don't really keep up with her, but I've known about her for a few years. I'm also familiar with her work with Sia, like in her music videos, and she also toured with her. Now, I've never been to a Sia concert, but I do quite like Sia's music, and so that was actually probably my first introduction to Maddie before I even knew her name. And she does other things as well. So, I mean, I knew who she was, but yeah, I'm definitely not like a big fan or anything. There are other artists I enjoy more, but I just read a lot of biographies, autobiographies, and memoirs, so because this was available and short enough, I thought, why not? As I will do with many others, I don't gotta be a big fan of someone to read a biography about them. This book has a foreword by Sia, and that is one of the times when the other narrator comes in. So when it comes to these kinds of books, I like to say what the book goes over. So in this book, Maddie talks about her childhood and the things she enjoyed as a kid, her relationship with her younger sister Mackenzie, who was also on Dance Moms, her experiences with dance. She started dancing at a young age, and she was on Dance Moms and danced competitively, and there's just some information about her throughout. She said that she wanted to say the real her instead of assumptions other people may make about her, and I do think saying something in your own words is a pretty good way to do that. She talks about some of her favorite dances she performed on Dance Moms. She talks about some of her teammates on the show. She talks about how she feels about being recognized and fan interactions, and I love when anyone in the public eye, anyone famous goes over that in a book or anywhere. Just, I like hearing them talk about that so that you know how they feel about that sort of thing, because I like to hear their feelings about it. And just, if you like them, then maybe you would know how to or to not approach them, like what the person would prefer. I think it's really good to know someone's preferences and boundaries. She talks about her experiences with Sia and also about being a judge on So You Think You Can Dance the Next Generation. She talks about the acting experiences she had had so far when this book was written. And there's also a chapter where she goes on for a while about fashion and makeup and hair, and she's got like different tips and suggestions and certain things that are described, like certain hairstyles and how to do them. At the end of each chapter, there is a Dear Maddie section, which has situations written by people that seem to be submitted to the book, and Maddie gives her advice and thoughts on them. I saw a review saying that these submissions felt contrived. I couldn't tell you if they were, of course, but either way, they were situations that a lot of young people will deal with and relate to, so I think there were probably people who could read this and recognize that as their situation as well and get some advice for it. And then also there is Today is a Beautiful Day Too, that is also at the end of each chapter, where Maddie gives a few suggestions on things you could do that could be fun or enjoyable or just good for you. And there are some parts that were written by some other people who know Maddie, like some of the other people on the cast of Dance Moms, or there are some sections from family, friends, and other people she knows. And I've seen that in a memoir before, where there are sections written by other people who know the person, and I think those are interesting. It's nice to hear their perspective on the person as well. I enjoyed some of this and found it interesting. Then again, I already like dance and I already like Sia's music, so there's that. Some parts were less interesting to me, like the whole section on fashion and makeup didn't really appeal to me, but I know that some people will like it, so perhaps there's something for everyone in here. Or rather, there's stuff that there's someone out there who will like it. Not that everyone who reads this will get something out of it. I think this very much feels like a basic 2010s teenage girl voice, which isn't really a bad thing. I'm just saying that's how it feels. Like, I think that's who she was at the time. I did expect going into this that it would feel a little less mature. Not that she feels like childish or rude, certainly not, but just, you know, that it would feel like a teenage girl compared to like Nia's memoir. Now she's, I think, somewhere in her 20s, so that felt more mature, more reflective. And this book did feel like the kind of memoir that's a lot of rambling about whatever she wanted to talk about just to fill up a whole book and have a bunch of sections rather than a story. I mean, it does start with the beginning of her life and goes over a few things in order, but It doesn't really feel like a story like this happened in my life and then I did this. It could be like I did this, here are a bunch of experiences I had related to this, and then here's my thoughts on this, you know? So it was like that. I've read at least one memoir like that before, like Mindy Kaling's Is Everyone Hanging Out Without Me? I listened to that last year, never did a review on it, but that was kind of similar. And it's not necessarily bad. I'm just describing it. But this did feel like easy listening. This could be good for people who are fans of Maddie, especially if they're younger, but older people can enjoy it too. But also, if you're like well into adulthood and you don't click with this, that's completely understandable. But yeah, I think if you're a fan of the show or any of her other work, because she's done a lot of things since then, I mean, this was published close to 10 years ago now, then you could enjoy this. Like for me, it's just like I'm a little familiar with her and I've seen some stuff that she's done, so I was like, sure, why not? Could be good for learning a little more about her if you want to. I feel that Maddie seems like an inspiring, positive, hardworking, kind person. I think that some of the advice she gives in here is good, especially for young people going through difficult situations like friendship troubles at school or things going on in your dance studio, things like that. So I think especially if you're a dancer, especially a young dancer, this could also maybe appeal to you. So yeah, I could see Maddie being a positive role model for anyone, especially young people. Would she be nowadays? I don't really know. Like I said, I don't really keep up with her enough to know, but just from this book, I mean, I don't think it's a bad thing for young people to fill their minds with. Overall, I mean, I enjoyed this, some of it more than others, but I didn't mind it. I'd give it 3 stars. It wasn't anything groundbreaking, not that it needed to be. Not that someone this age can't write something really big, but this was just her based on the things she'd been through. I don't feel that it really went into like, I feel like a lot of memoirs are about someone's struggles and how they overcame things, and maybe she either just didn't really have much of that or didn't want to touch in on that, which is fine. But yeah, it didn't really feel like that, but that's fine. That's just her life. And I know some people say they don't really want to rate a memoir because they don't feel like rating someone's life story. I don't think it's just about that, though. I think it can be about what they chose to write about or how much time they spent talking about something or just what's included in the book, not necessarily how inspiring or tragic their life is. I mean, it was good. Like I said, it didn't really feel a whole lot like a story, so I wouldn't say this is a story that I think everyone should read, that everyone could be inspired by. I think it definitely has a target audience, but of course, if you're older, you can read it. Like, I'm not a teenager, but it was fine. Perhaps if you're a bigger fan of her, you'd enjoy this more. But if you've read this or anything related to this, you can let me know your thoughts, and thank you for watching.